Hey guys, welcome back to my channel and another video in my Ask an Archaeologist series. Today I am interviewing Johannes, an archaeologist who has dug at Hattusa, the capital of the Hittites in Turkey, as well as working as a commercial and state archaeologist in Germany. I actually don't really know a lot about how archaeology works in Europe outside of the UK, so I'm really excited to speak to him today to see how it all works on the continent. And I hope you are too. Before we begin, don't forget to subscribe to my channel to help show your support. Also, if you have time, a follow on Instagram or a like to help me out with the algorithm would be greatly appreciated. Okay guys, let's dig in. Welcome to the channel, Johannes. It is a pleasure to be speaking to you today.
Thank you for having me.
We're going to jump right in today. And I'm going to ask you what inspired you to study archaeology or to switch to studying archaeology in your case at university?
As a child, my parents made the mistakes of giving me these books. They're called Was ist was in German, which is literally what is what.
Okay.
And they're just like picture books with little science texts. And yeah, they got me into archaeology and Egyptology in, children's kind of way. And back then I wanted to become an archaeologist, but that's what people want to become when they're 3 in life. When I decided I wanted to do journalism, but when I applied for journalism school, my grades weren't good enough.
Mm-hmm.
And in the German system, if you wait for a couple of semesters, your grades improve technically.
Okay.
I just wanted to study something to
Yeah.
how to pass the time.
Yeah.
And archaeology did not have any restrictions. And I thought, okay, you always wanted to do this as a child. Why
Yeah.
not give it a couple of semesters and then do what you really want to do?
Mm-hmm.
And well, I got hooked and I got stuck.
Yeah, I mean, I'm pretty sure that happens to a lot of people. So exactly how does archaeology work in Germany?
On the government level, it's because of the German federal system. Each state is responsible for education and culture. So archaeology is completely up to them, which means you have like a lot of different systems for each state.
Okay.
And sometimes there's like 3 cities in a state that have their own system, which makes things like really complicated. But in general, you have either completely state-run archaeology, who does all the excavations, who does all the publishing. Either they or a different office runs the museums. But in some states, they allowed commercial archaeology firms to do the actual excavations, and only like big prestige projects are done by the state archaeology, and they usually just do like make sure the quality of the excavations is up to standard.
Okay, so that sounds a bit more similar to what we do in the UK, where it's like the government or the local authority for the county basically is in charge of saying you need to excavate and it needs to be done to this standard. And then they come on site and they make sure that's happening. But the private archaeology companies are the ones that are doing the actual work. I think there used to be archaeology units attached to councils or attached to universities, actually, but now they're pretty much all separate and they're private companies. That's really interesting that there's a mix of the two in Germany, depending on the state that you're in.
Which reminds me, I completely forgot universities, of course.
Yeah.
They have excavations in some cases, but these are just the what you call Lehrgrabung. It's like where you learn to excavate.
Or
but
like a
not...
field school.
Oh yeah, like a field school.
Okay.
It's not a big excavation project usually.
We have the same thing over here. You'll have the universities doing digs at certain sites around the UK for field schools and stuff like that. But I actually read a really interesting statistic, or I heard an interesting statistic at a talk once that said that like 85% of the archaeological discoveries in the UK are coming from commercial private digs and not from research digs, which is obviously quite the opposite to quite a few other places in the world. So I think that's always quite interesting. Going back to university as well, you finished up with your first degree in archaeology, and then you decided to continue on and go get a master's. So tell us a little bit more about that.
The degree I did, you had to choose 5 disciplines, and then slim that down at the end to 1 or 2. And I was kind of fascinated with Mesopotamian culture. And I thought, okay, this is what I want to do. I want to do Near Eastern archaeology. And I completely misread what I had to do to actually do this master's. Yeah, I didn't have my Akkadian done. I only did Hittite.
All right.
So I had to do Akkadian during my master's, and I was not that good at it, I have to admit. But it was the topic that fascinated me the most, and it gave me the chance to dig in Hattusha, because the Hittites also really interested me.
Talk about your master's again. What was your master's dissertation on then?
My master's dissertation was actually on topic I did not study much. It was about late Iron Age pottery from Hattusha, from the specific era of Nishantash. I got in contact with this subject because the excavation director of Hattusha, Professor Schachner, said, okay, I have this master thesis topic lying around. If you want to do it, you can have it. But there's not much focus on Anatolia in the late Iron Age at my university. So I was kind of a bit pushed into the cold water and had to learn it. But it was really interesting. I learned a lot about pottery, and I learned how to draw it, catalog it. If I could do it again, I would take less material. I had something like 3,000 vessels I had to draw. I could have slimmed it down to a couple of hundred. You've mentioned
Hattusha a couple times. So, and being able to dig there, very, very exciting place. Can you tell us a little bit more about your experience doing that?
Oh, absolutely. So Hattusha is the ancient capital of the Hittite Empire, which was founded on the place of an Assyrian trade colony of the Karen times. And it's a massive city with lots of temples for around 1,000 gods they had. It is a place full of culture, and the architecture is really amazing. You have, like with the Akape, one really, really big wall with a tunnel going out, which was used in military processions. You have the Lion's Gate, which is really imposing. It is an amazing place. The only problem is most people will probably never be anywhere near it. But if you are in central Anatolia, go to Hattusha, visit it. It's not far to Alaja, actually, which is another Hittite city, and you can combine the two. I think it's worth the trip.
So how did you end up excavating there?
I actually worked at a pub on campus for most of my studies, and I met a fellow archaeologist who was way more driven than me and way more talented. And she actually was there the campaign before and said, okay, if you're interested in Hittites, why don't you dig there? I was like, yeah, well, I'm not anywhere near qualified. And she was, it will be no problem, just write to the professor and you will get in. And here, they accepted my application. And a couple of months later, having done the whole visa process, which is, of course, a nightmare, as with any excavation anywhere, I was in Hattusha and starting my first dig abroad.
And you said that you went there, was it 3 times?
Yeah.
Yeah, so you clearly enjoyed it enough to go back.
Yeah, it is an amazing sight. If you're there and overlook the plains, which are like these rolling hills. And if you're lucky enough, and if you're there for a week, you will be lucky enough to see a thunderstorm rolling over those plains. It's nothing like I've ever seen in Germany or anywhere, actually. So apart from the archaeology, it's a really interesting place.
Mm-hmm.
And for that, it was worth coming back.
Finishing up your studies, you then went to go work in commercial archaeology in Germany. Can you tell us kind of why you made that transition and how you ended up doing that?
It was again by connections. A guy I knew but wasn't really friends with, I again met on campus at the pub. And apparently this is how you get jobs in archaeology in Germany. And he was like, okay, so why are you not working in field archaeology? I was like, yeah, how am I gonna do that? Like, I work at the company, I want you there,
Yeah.
you come.
Okay.
Okay. And yeah, they gave me a trial, and it was hard, getting used to like really doing the manual labor all the time, not having too many breaks. It's not the usual university day you have. I mean, it's a business, and as a business, time is of the essence. But after a lot of sore muscles and a lot of sunburn, then I got to the point where I was like, okay, maybe I'm useful. And apparently I was, and I worked there for a couple of years actually.
Yeah. And then you ended up now working as a state archaeologist. So how did you make that transition?
The problem with commercial archaeology is it's kind of a gig-based economy. So if you're ill, you're not getting paid. So there's no sick days or anything.
Okay.
And if there is no current excavation, you don't get any job, you don't get any money. Okay, at some point I need some security in my life.
Yeah.
And another friend who had been working there for almost 10 years said, oh, okay, why don't you apply for state archaeology? Which is a bit interesting when you do commercial archaeology. Many commercial archaeologists look a bit down on state archaeology because they say, yeah, well, they work slow and whatnot. I cannot say that is true after having done both. There I got some sense of security, but not as much as I had hoped for, because again, it's limited contracts. You get 6 months, then 1 month, then 2 months, but usually in a consecutive manner. So at least it's better than not knowing will I work next week.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, that's a similar to what it is in the UK, especially when you start out, is like the gig economy, where when I began, it was like, all right, you've got a contract for 5 weeks, and then you've got a contract for another week. And then sometimes I found out on Friday if I was working on Monday, and then you bounce around a bunch of different companies trying to find contracts where you're working. But in the UK, at least, usually after a few years, and probably once you have a driver's license, that's a really key thing over here. You can work your way up to getting a more permanent contract, because the senior people that like write reports and run digs, they work year round. So it's not as much of a gig. Is it similar to that in Germany, or is it always a gig economy?
It used to be mostly gig economy, but now it's getting to become a bit more like you described.
Okay.
So a few co-workers of mine actually have like permanent unlimited contracts at commercial archaeology firms. And yeah, they are the ones leading the excavations, writing the reports, as you said. But it's not like the norm. It's getting there, but it's still not the norm. So many people, even in leading positions, will have like a couple of months contracts.
Wow, that's really interesting. I didn't know that that was how it worked in Germany. That's crazy. Definitely going to have to hope that it veers more towards the UK style.
Yeah, I really hope so.
Yeah, kind of finishing off from your personal work experience section, I'm now going to go into like some questions that I try to ask everybody. So the first ones are, what are your best and worst like field experiences or like field memories?
I'd say my best memories are actually back when working with commercial archaeology, having a team that like knows instinctively what the other one is going to do, knows what everybody's doing, and everybody can actually do everything. and is allowed to do everything. We work like clockwork. It's really enjoyable to see you get done everything you start. So if you have like 2 graves that are yours, so 2 burials, and you're doing 2 burials a day and they're finished and everything's looking good and everybody else has done the same and you can be proud of your work. That was what I really enjoyed there. But also the worst memories were kind of there when the weather was really terrible. Many excavations were in type of soil that's called Löss in German.
Okay.
It's like pollen that were sedimented during the Ice Age. It's like this yellow, white, really compact clay-like substance.
Oh.
And it's really good to see, the structures in them.
Yeah.
But in the sun, first it gets hard as stone, and it reflects the sun from everywhere. So you're always kind of like in these surfer tan aluminum foil thingies that tell you from everywhere and grill you at all times.
Oh God.
I had terrible, terrible sunburns.
Yeah, it's sunburn and what was it? The farmer's tan on the back of the neck and like the arms. I got that. I got that working in archaeology quite a bit. Leading on from that, what is your favorite artifact or thing that you've ever discovered on an archaeological site?
That was quite recently with state archaeology. I cannot claim I was the one who found it. It was a co-worker, but I got to work at it at a Roman site in Mainz. And one dig in construction rubble, we found a stone that looked a hell lot of work, and there were lines looking a bit like fabric. And it turned out to be a statue of the goddess Salus of health, presenting herself like Venus in a almost naked way, standing on a bull's head. And there's not many comparable items. If I remember correctly, there's one from Cologne in Germany, but yeah, again, not that many. That was really exciting. And now to see this actually standing in a museum, like as one of the centerpieces, this is what I really loved.
Yeah. So is it in the museum in Mainz then?
Yeah, it's in the State Museum of Mainz.
Okay.
Basically, just when you enter to the left, you can see it.
That's so cool. I don't think I've ever had anything that I've ever dug show up in a museum yet. So that's pretty awesome.
But are you sure you don't have anything, or it's just like you don't know?
I don't know. There might be a couple things from one dig that I was on down in Lincolnshire that will end up in a museum someday, but I've not been to investigate yet. But that's really cool being able to have that experience. Just to tie things off today, what would you say to inspire or encourage other people to follow in your footsteps?
I would strongly discourage them from following in my footsteps and doing it the way I did. But if you are passionate about archaeology or history and want to see if this is the thing for you, start as early as you can to go on excavations, apply at a commercial archaeology firm, and try to get the experience in. If you like it, you'll probably love it, and otherwise you'll see really soon it's not for me. And you won't have wasted a couple of years studying if you see, oh, okay, it's not really my thing. But again, if you're passionate about it, do it, go excavating. For me, it's a bit of the dream job. If you like outside and not sitting in front of a screen all day, this is it.
Pretty good. Good to know. And lastly, if people are interested in following you in your journey, where can they find you on social media?
I recently created an Instagram channel for archaeological finds that are cleared for publication. Because in Germany there's a lot of problems with publishing stuff before it's properly,
published. Yeah.
Published, yeah. But I will have to change the name because for a non-German speaker, it's basically impossible to find it out. I will send you a link.
Okay.
And once I've changed it, and here.
I'll put the link to it down below. No problem. So people can find you. Awesome. Well, thanks again for coming. It's been really lovely chatting to you and learning all about your stories. And I'm sure that everybody watching on the channel has enjoyed speaking to you as well. Wish you all the luck with the rest of your work in state archaeology. And hopefully maybe we can hear from you again sometime in future.
Thank you so much. Thanks for having me.
Okay, that's it for Johannes's interview today. What did you guys think? Do you have any questions for him? Let me know in the comments down below, and I will do my best to relate them to him and get some answers for you. Don't forget to go follow Johannes on social media as well. And if you haven't already, subscribe to my channel, follow me on Instagram, and or give us a like. Thank you so much for watching, guys, and I'll see you next time. Bye!